Good morning YouTube and welcome back to the channel, and you join me on a very cold day in the workshop. 1 degree, I've got the Asbo hood up as well. Not an amazing look, especially as I'm from Staines. But in today's video, we are going to be fitting the brand new HEL version 2 billet brake calipers. I mentioned in the previous episode when we were fitting the master cylinder that it's something I wanted to do because the braking system on the R1 is not fantastic, especially out of the factory. So in today's video, you join me upgrading the kit. So what have we got? Well, as I mentioned, we're going to be unboxing the version 2 of the calipers, and we've got the brake lines as well, because I didn't know that the rears actually still had a rubber on them. Shocking for a performance bike. So we're going to go through fitting that today, and I've opted to keep the ABS because it's mainly a road bike, and I've been advised that you can simply unplug the fuse to get the ABS disabled for track use. So join me today on fitting this all up to the bike. Okay, I couldn't resist. For those of you that saw the last video, I was only going to do the master cylinder. And then I just had to have these. They are absolutely stunning. Look at the machine work on there. So these are the version 2, which I'll put a link in the description. They've also got the like heatsink on the back as well, where it's finned. I've gone for the black color, and I've ordered some extra bits too. But let's just have a look what come with the calipers. So you've got the race pins, which you'll lock wire, and then you get the road pins, which as stated there, you're going to need to Loctite them in place. And then you also get the adapters so that they sit nicely on the forks. This will all make more sense when we put it on the bike. The optional bits I've gone for are new bolts and the new hoses. For those that saw in the last video, I spoke to HEL. They said really you want to be running a nice kit like that on there rather than the bend I've got in there. It'd work, obviously it's not pinched, but I thought, you know what, we're this far into it, these guys know what they're talking about. If they've told me to replace them, I'm going to be going very fast for me on track. So I wanted the bike to be working perfectly. So yeah, we've gone with the stainless steel kit with a clear cover on it, so it looks as close to factory as possible. And obviously we've got the new bolts, the adapters, which will go in here, and then those wonderful calipers. We will be running the standard discs, and I'm going to order some SBS pads. Now I'm going to go with the, I think it was 806 RS, which is now the RST, which is their new line. So fingers crossed, they're classed a fast road and track day pad, which is what I need. So yeah, we'll have a look through the manual with you as well quickly, and then we'll get on to removing the old stuff, draining all the brake fluid out that I've just fitted, and then get these new ones on. God, just look at the machining work on them. It almost seems a shame to have them on the bike. These should be on the shelf in the man cave somewhere. Beautiful, beautiful. A few days later and my SBS pads have arrived. Now I had a good chat with Steve at HEL Performance about pad choices. I've used SBS a lot in the past and really impressed with the value, and he kindly brought me up to speed with what models do what, whereas I've always just sort of gone, yep, that looks like a good run, racing, race bike, yep, that'll do me, which probably isn't the best attitude to have. Talk to someone who knows what they're doing and you'll get the advice you need. So I've gone with these versions, which is the 809 RST. For those that don't know, like myself, it used to be RS, but it's now been replaced as RST. So these are a sort of very fast road pad and track days, not really suitable for day-to-day riding, but from what I've read online as well, they're going to be the ones for me. And like I say, when I chatted to Steve, he was like, it's a good road pad. As you still use the bike on the road, it's certainly worth sticking to something like this. So yeah, for me, I know there's other brands out there, and obviously it's a very personal preference on what you run, but I've always been impressed, especially at the price point, £55 delivered for a set of these pads, which I don't think is unreasonable at all, especially for a performance pad. But yeah, let's get these unboxed and obviously have our first look at them in the calipers. I think I'm going to run the road pins the more I think about it, because I'm going to do track days, but it is more a road bike. But yeah, if you didn't know, the HEL calipers run something like, it's a CBR fit. So you've got the CBR 600RR, the 1000RR, the Fireblade. So if you are ordering pads for these calipers, there's your model you're going to need. Obviously do check with HEL to be certain, but that's what I've been advised, and that's what we're going to go with on the version 2 today. With the front system completely drained, I can now remove the calipers, hopefully without any risk of brake fluid leaking everywhere. But I'm going to bleed the rear system first. And when I was speaking to Steve at HEL Performance, and he said, you're going to need some new hoses for the calipers to make them fit correctly. So, oh, that's a shame. It comes with braided as standard. And he said, well, braided on the front, but not the rear. And I was like, what? I was like, why would they do that? Are you sure? Ah, why even doubt him? Why has an R1M got rubber brake hoses on the rear? I mean, I get it, the rear brake isn't as important, but for a premium bike again, you've really got to question some of the decisions that have been made here. So we've got braided on the front, rubber on the rear. But thankfully, in this wonderful little HEL kit, we have rear braided brake lines to go on too. Well, that's the rear completely bled up. Pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. And again, the ABS hasn't caused any issues with using my vacuum bleeder. Lovely, good solid pedal feel on there again, and nice to see those braided lines on there. The only issue I did have, and I can't really work out why, is this bolt seems to have a different thread on it to the HEL ones and the one on the rear caliper. I've taken that bolt out, I tried it in cross right round with the other bolts, and it just, that bolt only fits this master cylinder. That is odd. Normally, especially as it looked identical, everything would fit, but I certainly wasn't going to force it in there and risk cross-threading something. So yeah, we've had to stick back with the old bolt on there, but we have got that lovely new stainless one on the caliper. But yeah, really chuffed with them, and awesome to see it now fully braided lined. With the infill panel removed, you can now see where we strapped the original hose previously and sort of manipulated it into this bend here and down here. So in the kit, we've got that hose and we've got what I'll call the V piece that goes over, which I'll show now. So this is the one that's going to go to the new calipers. This is the one that's going to go to the new master cylinder. But I don't know what these two are for. Unfortunately, HEL aren't open on the weekends. I would have given them a bell just to find out if I've got something on the R1M I don't need to replace. I mean, unless it's something hidden under the tank. The only other two hoses I can see are these ones here, but they're already braided. And obviously I'm not going to need to change those. The reason we're changing these braided lines is because they don't fit the caliper angles correctly. So we definitely need to change that. So we'll fit them now. Hopefully I can get the camera under here. I've took the front fender off so that if any drips of fluid do come down, they don't damage the clear coat on the carbon. Excuse the GoPro switching off there. But yeah, let's take that off now and see what we've got under there. Well, this is turning into a fun little job, as always. Hopefully the camera will focus. So we've got the line off from the master cylinder down to the lower, like, solid line, but the one behind with the two hoses that go off to the calipers is a mixture of awful access. My radiator guard that the previous owners fitted isn't making it any better, so I'm just head scratching for a minute, but ideally I'd want the radiator out, but yeah, that's not happening today. So struggle on.
Looking online, the SBS manual advises to key the discs back with 150 grit emery cloth, which is what we're doing here, finished off with some brake cleaner to degrease it all.
With the hoses now complete and absolutely freezing my nuts off in the garage at 3 degrees, it's time to have a look at getting the calipers on. So before I fit them, I'm going to quickly show you the options you've got. So you've got the race pins here. I mean, everything just like the calipers. It's just machined so beautifully. Even when you wind them in, they feel fantastic into the caliper. So the race pins thread into this side, and then on the outer side you have the R clip or circlip. Well, not circlip, just an R clip. I used to use them in RC cars, to be fair. And then you've also got the holes for the lock wire as well, if you want to lock wire them, which is advised. And then you've got the road option, which I think we're going to run. Excuse that. So the road option, you need to Loctite. It does clearly state that on the packet, on the grub screws and the main pins. And you've got the anti-vibration plate or rattle plate that will go in there as well to keep tension on the pads from making any noise, because ultimately this is still very much going to be a road bike for me for trips next year.
With the bike apart and on the bench, I made the decision to remove the seat to have a look at the ABS pump just to see if there were any lines I'd missed. Now thankfully it looks like those two pre-braided ones already are the only other ones on the kit other than the hardline. Also had to fit a CTEK charger. With the bike now not being used much over winter, I don't want it going flat. Just like when I did the master cylinder in the previous video, thankfully the R1M doesn't have anything fancy that requires you to electronically open the ABS pump to bleed it. I've seen this with cars and bikes in the past. When you fully drain the system, it can become nearly impossible. But with the R1M, start with the master cylinder, front right caliper, front left caliper. It took a little bit longer this time, obviously because I completely drained the system out, but after 2 attempts of running around doing the master cylinder and then the calipers, the lever was lovely and solid and we were ready to put it back together again. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, make sure you consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We've got plenty more to come on the R1. And as mentioned, unfortunately, because of the temperature out there today, I'm not going to be road testing it. And I'm going to have to wait until at least March before the weather returns. With the Super Corsa tyres on, it's not suited for 0 degree weather, unfortunately. So yeah, if you did enjoy, stay tuned. We've got plenty more to come on the R1.